Okay, let's go ahead and dive inside the GR. Wanted to point out the door on here. These are frameless doors, which means when you open the door, if you watch the window real close, it drops down about 1/4 of an inch. And then you'll notice as I get the door open here, there's no frame to hold the window in. One of the things I've noticed about frameless doors is over time they tend to develop more rattles because they're not as rigid. So let's take a quick look at the door. On the Premium Edition, they use suede interior. So this is suede here, the seats, and then there's some suede on the dashboard. I'll show you that. One of the criticisms I would have of this, especially with the frameless door, is you're gonna get water droplets on here. And I don't know if that'll stain or not. I guess we'll have to see over time. I prefer to have a vinyl top on the door so if water comes in, it doesn't stain the door sill itself or the top of the door there. We do have a leather padded armrest with contrast stitching here on the door, and then that leads down into the power mirrors, power windows, auto up and down on all 4 windows, power window locks. There's a bottle holder here, and then there's a speaker in the door as well. What the doors don't have is there's no puddle lights here on the doors. Now, as far as the door sill itself, there's a brushed aluminum plate here, and then there is a little bit of tread here so that you don't slip and slide as you get in and out. Take a look at the pedals down below. The accelerator, the gas, and the dead pedal are all aluminum, brushed aluminum. Trunk release, dimmer switch for your dash lights. There's 4 vents across the front of the dashboard, heating, air conditioning vents. And then we'll take a look at the seats. Now, these are not power seats, but they do have height adjustment. They also recline, and they're side impact airbags. Now, the GR does have 7 airbags for 2022. Now, the seats on here, these are a suede seat with a Softech trim. Now, the suede is important because as you're driving a car, fast cornering, that cloth will hold you in your seat better. It does have deep side bolsters on here, so it will hold you in nice. It fits like a glove, especially for a smaller person. They do have a gray racing stripe in the seat. I have to say they're very comfortable. Height adjustable headrest, and then there's releases here that allow you to access the back seats. We'll take a look at those in just a minute. Can actually fit people back there, but not for long trips like I could fit back there. Let's go ahead and jump in the driver's seat. For 2022, the interior has been completely redesigned on the GR86. In fact, this is the first year they're calling it a GR86. And so there's all new controls on the inside. We'll dive in and go over those here real quick. So the steering wheel is not heated, but it is leather wrapped, and it does have a gray contrast stitching here. And then we have the GR badge here and some gunmetal gray trim as well. Smaller in diameter, but very comfortable. Toyota badge in the center. There is an airbag behind here as well. On the left, we've got controls for the sound system. We also have Bluetooth connectivity controls for your smartphone. And you can also change the source, AM, FM, what have you. And then over on the right-hand side, we've got controls for the information center, which is up here. We also have voice activation, and then the cruise control lever is down here. Kind of old school for Toyota, but that's where it's at. And then because this is an automatic transmission, we do have paddle shifters. So here's your up. By the way, these are aluminum, they're not plastic. And then here's your downshift. And on this side are the headlight controls. We do have auto on and off for the headlights. There's a trip reset switch over here. And you can just see the gauge cluster as I kind of pan over. You'll notice it's shaped like the 86 logo as well, which we saw on the trunk of the car. And then over on this side, these are your front washer wiper, and we do have intermittent wipers up front as well. There's no washer wiper on the rear, but there is a rear window defrost. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gauge cluster. So what I'm going to do is start it up so you can see that. Now the 86 does come with the smart keyless entry system, so 2 key fobs and then push button start, and the push button start does have the GR logo on there. So let's go ahead and start it up so you can see that. So that's your animation for the GR86. And then the sound system came on as well. So I'll just switch that on here real quick. Actually, I want to cancel that. We'll get to that sound system in just a second. So I have the seat all the way back. I'm just going to slide it ahead so you can see the gauge cluster. So pretty interesting gauge cluster we've got here. I wanted to show you. It's all digital on the new GR. And on this side is the settings area. So that's where using these controls right here, that's where we can toggle through our different driver assist settings. So lane departure warning, pre-collision systems. We can set up our sound system settings. There's your tachometer on a chart, if you will. So you can see that moving up and down as I kind of rev the engine. There's our fuel, our information for our battery and our engine temperature. So there's a lot of great information wrapped right inside that system as well for the driver assist. And then in the center is the speedometer and the tachometer. You can see that there. And then on the right side, we've got the engine temperature, fuel gauge, outside temperature, and a digital clock. And then we also have trip meters over on this side here as well. This gauge cluster also changes, and I'll show you that in just a second here as we get over to the center console. But overall, very well placed. Everything up here is easy to see, and the steering wheel is super comfortable. Here's something interesting. This part of the dashboard up here is actually ultra suede as well, and I think that will help reduce reflection, sun glare off of the dashboard into your eyes. And then there are some additional speakers up here in the dashboard as well. So the sound system on here is really nice. So heading over to the center console and the center stack, take a quick look at that. I'm going to show you. This is an all new sound system. First of all, here's those heat vents, emergency switch here. You can turn these on and off. And then we do have an all new center stack in terms of the infotainment center up front here. So you've got your radio. You can set up your Bluetooth for your phone. Let me just turn that down. Set up your Bluetooth for your phone. There's no navigation on here, but you can get an app for that. We also have, let me flip back here to home. Roadside assistance setting, maintenance settings are all on here. It is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatible, so it's a much better sound system, and it's pretty responsive when you tap on these things with your fingertip control, just with your fingers. And then heading down to the lower part of the center console, we have automatic temperature control, front driver, front passenger. What I think is kind of cool about these is they actually have the temperature on the dial, so you kind of raise and lower it here, and then you have the ability to sync it if you want or unsync it there. Here's that push button start, front window defrost, rear window defrost, and heated outside mirror settings. So when we tap that, it'll get the ice off of your outside mirrors, just like off the rear window. We have our different mode settings for where we want the heating and air conditioning to come from, recycle, and then sync as well, max air, all of those switches. So nice big knobs, easy to find it. I like the toggle switches, similar to what we see in the new Tundra with the bigger, easier to find toggle switches, especially when you have your gloves on, it's easier to push them. As we move down the center console here, this is the automatic transmission, so you have a leather shifter. It actually looks like a stick the way it's set up, but it is automatic, and it does have the manual mode, so if you want to kind of work, you know, through the gears yourself, you can do that. I did want to show you the backup camera, so I'll get that turned on here. So there you go with the backup, and that does have path projection, so it predicts the angle at which you're backing up. It's a nice big, easy to see. We do have parking assist here as well, so we can turn that on. So if you're gonna back into a garbage can or something like that, or a grocery cart, it'll give you the warning on that deal. As we head down the center here, there's a lot of this gray trim here as well, just like we saw on the top. I'm actually surprised that doesn't say 86 on the top there. The parking brake is right here, and it too has that contrast stitching here. This is leather wrapped. And then down here there's 3 switches that do 4 things, so traction control and on and off. Sport mode, what's nice about that is there's a visual indicator in the gauge cluster, so you turn it on right here, but then up here in the gauge cluster I mentioned earlier, there it reads sport, and then if I go over to the snow mode, it switches out. So I can go sport, I can go snow, or I can go normal, and that's going to change up the shifting in the transmission to give you different effects. And then the Premium Edition does have heated seats, 2-position heated seats, only the front seats, and then there is 1 cup holder here, but don't forget there's also one in the doors, both doors, bottle holders, cup holders if you will. As far as the center console, center armrest, it's actually pretty nice size. There's 2 cup holders here, which I think work really well for your backseat passengers, but there's also a 3.5 millimeter plug, so if you want to plug your music in, and then there's 2 additional USB charging ports there as well, 2.1 amp. They're the old style chargers, which is kind of interesting to me because a lot of chargers are now the USB-C style, so it seems odd that they wouldn't have integrated one of those as well, but then that all closes up just like that. Here's a quick look at the passenger seat. And then overhead, we've got lighted vanity mirrors. That's on both sides. No visor extensions. And then we've got more of that gunmetal gray trim going across here, another vent, and then your glove box with your owner's manual. It's a nice size glove box. Be aware that it does not lock, though. There's no key lock for the glove box on the inside. Take a look overhead. Here's our overhead lighting. You can turn them on manually, or you can set them up to come on with the door, or whatever you like. Safety Connect is here, and then there's some indicators for passenger side airbag, that type of thing. We also have a frameless mirror on the 86 with auto dimming, and then we also have home link, so you can set up 3 different devices, such as a garage door opener or maybe your home lighting system. So that's going to be standard on the 86 Premium Edition. So that's a quick look up front. Let's go ahead and squeeze into that back seat, and I'll tell you all about it. So for all intent and purpose, the 86 is a 2-seater. There's extra seats in the back, 2 seats, but I gotta tell you, it's pretty cramped. The best way to get in the back seat is here on the passenger side, because the seat does slide forward. The driver's seat does not. And now there is room to get in if you're a shorter guy like me. Jump in the back seat and sit in. Wanted to show you there's speakers over here, seat belts for 2, with actually child safety anchors down here as well. So that's kind of interesting. And up here on the back, you can connect your child safety seats. So if you have a little one, it's set up for their safety. There's no pockets on the backs of these seats. I showed you these cup holders when I was up front. I think these are more practical if you do have folks in the back seat. So here I am. I'm going to show you. I'm 5'7". I've got about an inch of headroom above me, so if this car tips over, I'm going to bump my head or hard bumps. It really is not great for adults in the back. Little kids, I suppose you get them in here for a short ride. But when I pull this seat back, notice it's on this track, and then I can bring it back into position, and now the front driver or front passenger can get in. And I think that person, if they're shorter like me or another kid, I think they'll be okay. And I can lean this back as well. So this handle right here allows the back seat passenger to make any adjustments to the seat. Now, just to be quite honest with you, I don't think you're going to want to put people back here at all unless they're super small or you're have a super short trip. But then to get out, just pull the handle right here and that seat will slide forward, and it does give you a reasonable amount of egress. So heading into the trunk, there's a trunk release right here, electric trunk release. Also on your key fob, you can pop that trunk. And as you'd expect, it's a fairly small opening. Does have a nice low lift over height. The deck is padded and insulated, and then there's also this emergency release handle, this glow-in-the-dark release handle. The floor is I should say more than relatively flat. It is flat. You can see I've got the back seat folded down, so the seat folds down 100% into the trunk. And once you do that, I think you can probably get 2 sets of golf clubs in there pretty easily, or snow skis or a snowboard or something like that. And then it's wider, of course, here at the back. There's a light up in there. So once again, Toyota pays a lot of attention to the small things. And then underneath is where we have our fix-a-flat setup. And there's a few small storage cubbies here, and your tools for your jacks and all that. I think there's room under here if you wanted to put your emergency equipment, you know, maybe an extra gas can or jumper cables or first aid kit. So there's actually pretty good room under there, but that's your fix-a-flat kit right there. And then it just drops down like so. So not too bad for a small car. Definitely could get a couple weekend bags in there. So just a fun little car, run around on the weekend.